Welcome to Have You Read It, the channel where we bring books to life, one summary at a time. Today, we're diving deep into Hannah Fry's Hello World: Being Human in the Age of Algorithms. This book isn't just about the code that runs our lives. It's about us, humans, and how we're changing in the face of these powerful, often invisible forces. Fry navigates a vast landscape, from criminal justice to art, and asks a crucial question: do these algorithms deserve our trust? Fry starts by setting the stage with a personal anecdote about her first computer, a ZX Spectrum, and the iconic Hello World program. This simple program, a rite of passage for coders, symbolizes the dialogue between humans and machines, a partnership where control isn't always clear. This sets the tone for the book. It is a reminder of a moment of dialogue between human and machine, of an instant where the boundary between controller and controlled is virtually imperceptible. The introduction presents examples of how algorithms and technology impact our lives, sometimes with unintended or even malicious consequences. Robert Moses's low-hanging bridges on Long Island, designed to restrict access for poor Black communities, serve as a stark reminder that technology can be shaped by human prejudice. Algorithms are the invisible pieces of code that form the gears and cogs of the modern machine age. They power everything from social media feeds to medical diagnoses. Fry emphasizes that algorithms themselves aren't inherently good or bad, but their use determines their impact. GPS, initially for launching missiles, now delivers pizzas, showing the duality of technology. The book is about understanding the relationship between human and machine. The first chapter, Power, explores the growing influence of algorithms in our lives and questions whether we're ceding too much control. The story of Garry Kasparov's defeat by IBM's Deep Blue highlights how algorithms can leverage not just computing power, but also an understanding of human psychology. Deep Blue was designed to appear uncertain, a mean trick, but it worked. Kasparov admitted to being intimidated, a crucial lesson about expectations and the power of algorithms that extends beyond their code. Fry then breaks down the vague term algorithm, defining it as a step-by-step procedure for solving a problem. She distinguishes between two main types: rule-based algorithms, with direct instructions written by humans, and machine learning algorithms, which learn from data and feedback. She organizes algorithms by real-world tasks: prioritization, classification, association, and filtering. Uberpool exemplifies a combination of these: filtering routes, associating users, and prioritizing efficiency. Rule-based algorithms are easily comprehended, but limited to problems humans know how to solve. Machine learning algorithms excel at tasks like image recognition and language translation, but their inner workings can be mysterious. The challenge of image recognition is made apparent by the ability of machine learning algorithm to be tricked into thinking a picture of a car is a picture of a dog by changing a single pixel. Fry addresses the hype around AI, arguing that it's more of a revolution in computational statistics than true intelligence. She dismisses fears of an AI apocalypse as a distraction from pressing concerns about existing algorithms, making autonomous decisions in healthcare, criminal justice, and transportation. The case of Robert Jones, who drove his BMW off a cliff while blindly following his TomTom's directions, illustrates the danger of over-trusting algorithms. Similarly, a study involving a rigged search engine called Cadoodle demonstrated how easily people's opinions can be manipulated by biased search results. Participants were 12% more likely to pick a candidate Cadoodle had favored. People believed they had adopted their new thinking voluntarily. The Idaho Department of Health and Welfare's Budget Tool, an error-riddled Excel spreadsheet that arbitrarily cut Medicaid assistance to disabled people, serves as a cautionary tale about our bias towards computerized results. People don't question computer-generated results. The chapter presents two contrasting scenarios. Stanislav Petrov, the Russian military officer who averted nuclear war by disobeying a computer system, and the engineers at Alton Towers, who overrode safety algorithms, causing a devastating roller coaster crash. These examples highlight the dilemma of when to trust a machine and when to trust human judgment. Paul Meehl's research, consistently showing that algorithms make better predictions than humans, challenges our intuition. However, algorithm aversion, our tendency to distrust algorithms after seeing them err, can lead us to reject valuable tools. The key takeaway is that expectations are important. The power of an algorithm isn't limited to what is contained within its lines of code, and understanding our own flaws and weaknesses is the key to remaining in control. The next chapter, Data, explores the vast amounts of personal information collected and used by algorithms, often without our full awareness or consent. The chapter opens with a Mark Zuckerberg instant messenger exchange, hinting at a Machiavellian attitude to privacy within the company. Supermarkets were early adopters of data collection, using loyalty programs like Tesco's Club Card to gather insights into customer spending habits. This allowed them to target coupons and personalize shopping experiences, as well as discover which shoppers were house-proud via items in their baskets. However, supermarkets also had to apologize and delete data once it became too revealing. Target's ability to predict pregnancies based on purchase patterns highlights the power of data mining and the ethical questions it raises. Target sent pregnancy-related coupons to a teenage girl before her father even knew she was pregnant. The company continued using the tool, mixing in the pregnancy-related coupons with other more generic items so that the customers don't notice they've been targeted. Fry then introduces data brokers like Palantir, Axiom, and CoreLogic, who collect and resell personal information. These companies create detailed data profiles, combining information from various sources to infer traits like religious affiliation, political views, and even sexual orientation. The U.S. Senate voted to eliminate rules that would have prevented data brokers from selling your internet browser history without your explicit consent. Data brokers and companies like Google, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter use micro-targeting to deliver ads, trading on information users didn't know they had and never willingly offered. Using the example of luxury travel company Fry's, Hannah illustrates how a cookie acts like a signal, saying that you are someone who should be served up an advert for Fry's Caribbean cruises. Heidi Waterhouse's experience of being bombarded with pregnancy ads after losing a pregnancy highlights the potential for thoughtless omission or deliberate design to cause harm. A study from 2015 demonstrated that Google was serving far fewer ads for high-paying executive jobs to women who were surfing the web than to men. A Google search of black-sounding names returned ads linked to the word arrest, but the same was not true for white-sounding names. German journalist Svea Eckert and data scientist Andreas Duis demonstrated how easily anonymous browsing data can be de-anonymized, revealing sensitive information about individuals, including a judge who visited pornography websites. The Cambridge Analytica scandal illustrates the potential for data to be used for political manipulation. By connecting Facebook likes to personality traits, Cambridge Analytica allegedly targeted voters with emotionally charged political messages and fake news stories. Cambridge Analytica discovered that there was a large degree of overlap between people who bought good, American-made Ford motor cars and people who were registered as Republican Party supporters. The company found single mothers who score highly on neuroticism and preying on their fear of being attacked in their own home to persuade them into supporting a pro-gun lobby message. Fry emphasizes that while these methods can influence people, the actual effects are often tiny. However, in close elections, even small shifts in opinion can be decisive. The chapter then shifts to the dangers of citizen scoring systems like China's Sesame Credit, where a single score based on online behavior and social connections can determine access to essential services and opportunities. There are rewards if your rating is over 600 points. People with low scores stand to feel the repercussions in every aspect of their lives. Fry concludes with a glimmer of hope, noting the growing awareness of data exploitation and the emergence of regulations like GDPR in Europe. But there's no such thing as a free lunch. She urges readers to be mindful of hidden incentives and to question the true purpose of free apps and algorithms. The third chapter, Justice, questions whether algorithms can make the judicial system fairer and more consistent. The chapter opens with the contrasting cases of Nicholas Robinson and Richard Johnson, both guilty of burglary during the 2011 London riots, but receiving vastly different sentences. Studies consistently show that judges often disagree with each other and even contradict their own decisions, highlighting the inherent inconsistencies in the human judicial system. Consistency and individualized justice cannot always both be guaranteed. The algorithm, however, can do both. Recidivism algorithms use data to calculate the risk of re-offending, assisting judges in bail and sentencing decisions. Ernest W. Burgess built a tool to predict the risk of criminal behavior based on measurement rather than intuition. Fry explains how random forests work, using decision trees and ensemble methods to make predictions. Random forests can claim two huge advantages over their human counterparts: consistency and much better predictions. Researchers compared the accuracy of an algorithm to human judges in New York City bail decisions, finding that the algorithm could significantly reduce incarceration rates and crime rates. If you're wanting to incarcerate fewer people awaiting trial, the algorithm could help by consigning 41.8% fewer defendants to jail while keeping the crime rate the same. The algorithm could reduce the rate of skipping bail by 24.7%. However, algorithms can make mistakes, leading to false positives and false negatives. The tragic story of Paul Zilli, who received a harsher sentence based on a flawed Compass risk assessment, illustrates the danger of blindly trusting algorithms. One of the main issues is bias. A ProPublica analysis of Compass revealed that the algorithm disproportionately mislabeled Black defendants as high risk, raising concerns about perpetuating racial inequalities. The ProPublica analysis highlights how easily algorithms can perpetuate the inequalities of the past. The chapter points out, however, that achieving true fairness is mathematically impossible when arrest rates differ across racial groups. Unless the fraction of people who commit crimes is the same in every group of defendants, it is mathematically impossible to create a test which is equally accurate at prediction across the board, and makes false positive and false negative mistakes at the same rate for every group of defendants. Despite these concerns, Fry argues that algorithms, even imperfect ones, can improve the justice system by reducing systematic bias and random error. She acknowledges that her perspective changed over the course of writing this chapter. There is too much expectation of human judges. She concludes that the choice isn't between a flawed algorithm and some imaginary perfect system. Data scientists know about and object to the exploitation of people's information for profit for quite some time. The fourth chapter, Medicine, explores the impact of algorithms on healthcare, particularly in areas like diagnostics and personalized treatment. The chapter opens with a study showing that pigeons can be trained to identify cancerous tissue in breast cancer images, challenging the notion that pattern recognition is a uniquely human skill. Modern medicine relies on pattern recognition, classification, and prediction. Medical history is packed with examples. In 15th century China, healers first realized they could inoculate people against smallpox. And in the 1840s, Ignaz Semmelweis noticed something startling in the data on deaths on maternity wards. Pathologists who examine tissue and blood samples play a crucial role in diagnosis, but their work is challenging and prone to error. Diagnosing abnormalities in biopsies can also be very tricky. Also, you have an Excel spreadsheet is not some sophisticated AI, not some beautifully crafted mathematical model, but, and this is now the medical world. The inner workings of Compass are considered a trade secret. Algorithms, particularly neural networks, offer a potential solution, excelling at pattern recognition and classification. With the aid of machine learning algorithms, the machines will then give a diagnosis. This may sound like witchcraft, but it might not be all that dissimilar from how we learn ourselves. Fry explores the concepts of sensitivity and specificity, explaining the trade-offs between minimizing false positives and false negatives in medical testing. In the early stages of Alzheimer's is that high linguistic ability is of great advantage, but the low linguistic ability of an algorithm has caused problems, such as with those classifying dog pictures. The study is important and highlights how subtle signals about our future health can hide in the tiniest, most unexpected fragments of data, years before we ever show symptoms of an illness. The challenge is to make those trade-offs fairly and effectively. The nun study, which linked linguistic ability in young nuns to their risk of developing Alzheimer's disease decades later, highlights the potential for algorithms to uncover hidden connections in medical data. But what would they say? That good education staves off dementia, or that people with the propensity to develop Alzheimer's feel more comfortable with simple language? Studies showing a high prevalence of undetected breast cancer in autopsies raise questions about overdiagnosis and overtreatment. With an algorithm, this could have a huge influence over the outcome of those 83 people. There was also talk of a silent epidemic, with around 9% of women unwittingly walking around with tumors in their breasts. IBM's Watson, initially designed for Jeopardy, was touted as a revolutionary tool for cancer care, but it has faced challenges in real-world application. The goal here was to make it possible to diagnose diseases and even offer patients sensible treatment plans. The lack of connected and standardized medical data, as illustrated by the tragic case of Tamara Mills, hinders the effectiveness of diagnostic algorithms. DeepMind's access to a vast trove of NHS patient data raised privacy concerns, highlighting the ethical dilemmas of using sensitive medical information for AI development. One thing that was not being focused on was the idea of access to the data of 1.6 million patients without those patients ever being asked for their consent or knowledge. What if they could deny insurance or treatment to obese patients based on the new data the algorithms have obtained? The ethical dimensions must be considered, and so too those in medical practice as a whole. We do want to keep them happy after all. The chapter touches upon genetic testing, with companies like 23andMe offering insights into ancestry and health risks in exchange for data. While this can benefit research, it also raises concerns about privacy and potential discrimination. Give it your consent, and they will sell an anonymous version of your genetic data to those aforementioned research partners for a tidy profit. The key tension is balancing individual privacy with the potential for algorithms to improve public health, and deciding who the algorithms will serve, the individual or the population. If a machine were built to serve the entire population, it would be far more mindful of the issues around antibiotic resistance. Cars discusses the complex challenges and ethical dilemmas presented by driverless car technology. The chapter begins with the DARPA Grand Challenge, highlighting the initial struggles and eventual breakthroughs in autonomous vehicle development. Despite early visions of seamless automation dating back to the 1939 World's Fair, creating truly driverless cars is proving far more difficult than anticipated. Even with things such as neural networks, this rings true, as while the image processing can be great, it is by no means perfect and can be caught out by bridges, etc. The difficulties stem from the limitations of sensors like cameras, LiDAR, and radar, which can be affected by weather, lighting, and other environmental factors. In the event that they cannot understand how the self-driving is designed to work, they cannot properly integrate into the world. These problems can, however, be solved with the use of the Bayes theorem in order to create a system that can draw educated conclusions from its surroundings at all time. Additionally, self-driving cars may be faced with the trolley problem, a conundrum that forces a choice between two evils. A Mercedes-Benz spokesman stated self-driving Mercedes-Benzes will prioritize occupant safety over pedestrians. One thing often ignored is the relationship with humans and the affect humans will have of those cars, with cyclists, pedestrians, and other such people having the capabilities of causing issues with them. The lack of nuance has a great deal to do with these issues. The understanding of road conditions, the highway code. Can you teach a car that it should sometimes break the rules of the road? And what if you're sitting at a red light and someone runs in front of your car and frantically beckons you to edge forwards? In the case of the Air France Flight 447, something like this happened. The pilots relied too much on the automated systems, and when that failed, didn't have the skills to successfully deal with the issue. Therefore, it has become apparent in recent years that Level 5 autonomy will probably not be in our immediate future. In the end, as a society, we will decide where our algorithm power can be used with the best intention and the appropriate result in mind. The crime chapter details the potential and pitfalls of using algorithms in law enforcement, from geographic profiling to predictive policing and facial recognition. It's easy to see a future that makes our tomorrows feel like a page out of the book, 1984. A geographical profiler was Kim Rosmo in the 1990s, who believed that a perpetrator doesn't randomly choose where they target their victims. He focused his attention exclusively on a single factor: geography. Rosmo exploited predictability to bring down the violent serial killer, Clive Barwell. Rosmo's discovery opened the way for police departments to use the geographical location to their advantage, leading to the use of the charts of the future, a method developed by police officer Jack Maple. The maps of the future is where each crime was marked in crayon on a map showing train routes and train stops. The method was easy to use and a great way of tracking where crime was taking place. With them being able to stop people committing the acts before they took place, it did not follow. As with maps, there is no inherent bias. Researchers have found that people have a natural habit of targeting the same areas, and in doing so give an indicator that they have been there. The algorithm made use of data that had been collected by the authorities, and so there is bias inherently in the algorithm. Also, as they look harder for crime, the police become more likely to find it. Then, with a great twist, the next section of the book then begins to deal with the issue of facial recognition. There is potential for great harm to be caused by facial recognition software. There is, of course, still a debate raging on about what constitutes great art, but there is no easy answer, and therefore you run into all the same problems. Just because the computer says something doesn't make it so. In Steve Talley's case, he didn't have a case, or did he? The technology that says that is a facial recognition algorithm, and the debate as to its merits has been raging for a few years now. In this case, you cannot base your decision solely on this, but can you tell me who has exactly the same face? You can have the software working to 99.99%. Is it worth it? Art discusses the problems surrounding algorithms and creative work with an analysis of if robots can appreciate art and how humans judge what is art. The chapter begins with the tragic story of Justin Timberlake, a man who was having a birthday brood over why he wasn't the massively successful Justin Timberlake that we all know. That's because he hadn't quite been good enough to do everything right. It also asks the questions whether it was talent, beauty, or just luck. There are tests for all forms of musical composition, and these range over many styles from opera to rap. One test involved asking different audiences what they believed was the best out of a test selection. It found that popularity is not the only component, and that is because you were not making an educated guess. This is just an off-the-cuff response. We are very good at copying or following those around us, but not creating new stuff as such. It turns out that we know if we have talent or not at any one time as a species. We could stand to benefit enormously from this, and the book asks what the point is. One thing that has been found is that most people follow the same pattern, with just an algorithm making it slightly different. When creating a new poem, it will almost always follow a pattern. After looking closely at what has happened, the conclusion is that there should be some limits to what the algorithms do. It may well turn out that some things should not be analyzed, and that might be one that applies more than others. In the conclusion, Fry revisits the story of Rahina Ibrahim, emphasizing the human cost of algorithmic errors and the need for greater accountability. Because of one human error and a machine with an omnipotent authority, her voice was not heard for almost a decade. She stresses that algorithms are tools, not oracles, and that humans must remain at the center of decision-making. The algorithms have left us with a tangle of complications to unpick and an air of authority to an incorrect result. Fry proposes designing algorithms to be contestable, transparent, and supportive of human judgment, rather than replacements for it. This might mean designing the algorithms to come to a decision transparently and to explain the result. Also, it can mean that they are not fully in charge of the game by letting the user change variables and take control. That people are so willing to trust this algorithm that it gets them into trouble when it's the human that is responsible for the final result. She proposes a perfect tactical play and the beautiful and meaningful strategies to be the very best of both worlds. Easy to remember heuristics. Algorithms are tools, not oracles. Question the code, challenge the outcome. Humanity in the loop, always. Thanks for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you never miss our next book dive.